In this lesson, we're going to learn how to graph functions using technology. The last one showed a little bit of this. We're going to do just a little bit more. So it is easier with technology, so that's why we're going to use it. The first one, we're going to graph the function y is equal to 1.75 times 4 to the x. So that's the first graph we're going to do. And we're going to use Desmos. We're going to use both Desmos and the graph calculator. So we'll start off with Desmos. The nice thing about Desmos is that you can actually type anything you want. You don't always have to use X's and Y's. You can do any letters you want. We're going to go ahead because the equation given in y equals, we'll use y equals 1.75 times 4 to the x. So 4 to the x, the way you do to the x, you can either hit the caret, type the caret button, which is above the number 6, or you can, if you're on a phone, you definitely have to use the keypad. If you're on a calculator, sorry, a computer, you can use the keypad or type that. To do powers on here, you're going to hit the keypad, and then you see A to the B. That will now put you in the power, and you can type in an X. So there's my graph. That's all there is to graphing on Desmos. I can change the color by holding down on this. Change it to a different color if you don't like green, if you like purple, or you like blue, or you like red or orange. Not a lot of choices here. You can make it dashed or dotted. I like solid usually. There's times you need the other ones. There's not a lot of choice colors here, but you can pick different things. You can also say how heavy you want how thick you want the graph, if you want to change that thickness to what you want. So we'll make that one blue. If you want to see more of the graph, you can click the little wrench over here and you can change your domain, which is your X's, your range, which is your Y's, to what you would like it to be. You can put labels on your graphs if you want to. You can actually have it not show as many pieces. You can have it show less major grid lines or show the minor grid lines. You can do arrows on your graph, just on the coordinate plane. So it doesn't put arrows on the graph, it just puts arrows on the coordinate plane. If you don't want that, you don't have to. And so there's a different choice you can do. You can do reverse contrast if you prefer that instead. Different choices you can do. We're going to leave it kind of in the center, though I will change my y's just a little bit just to show you what happens. I can go to minus, let's say, 10 to 10 if I wanted to, and it just changes the window a little bit. If I didn't like that and I want to go back to the home one, I can hit home and I'll go back to the home. I can also zoom in, I can zoom out if I want to. If I want to graph a different function, let's say I want to graph y is equal to 0.2 times x minus 3.2. That's the next one I was going to do. And I meant to do y equals. Then it would graph that one up for me. Notice it put in, it's a different lines. If you want a different color, you can. Whatever color you want to use. And another one we might want to do is y is equal to 1 times 5 to the x. At that time, I just hit the caret, but again, if you are on the phone, you would have to hit the keypad. And now I get that graph going. I have them all the same color, so if I want to change this to a different color, I can. Then all the same color. If I want to do f of x equals 15 times 0.8 to the x, I can go do that one also. And notice I don't have to use y. I also don't have to use x's. I can use any letters I want. Since I've already used some letters, I don't know if I can change it to t. Let's see what happens if I do it. No, it won't let me do that. Okay. So since I've already using x's, I can't change to a different letter. But if I wasn't already using x's, I could. So let's say I want to do f of x is equal to negative 3x plus 10. And then I can get that graph up there also. If you're having a hard time seeing the difference between all of them, again, you can change one to dotted so you can see what that one is. So that's how we graph these on the graph on Desmos. On the graphing calculator, all of our buttons that have to do with graphing are the top row here. Y equals, the graphing calculator only uses X's and Y's. It will not use any other letters, so I do need to use X's and Y's. So I'm going to do Y is equal to 1.75 times, and there is a times button here. Notice it puts it in as a star, which is good because you don't want to use an X because then it looks like an X. So you don't want to use a time symbol because then it looks like an X. So it uses a star instead. And then I type in 4, and then on the graphing calculator, this caret here makes powers. So then I'll type in an X. Now, for the X, I can see there's an X here in green on this calculator. It's sometimes in yellow, depending on what your calculator is. That means you have to use this big alpha button and then hit that green. I don't really want to do that this time. I mean, I can, but I noticed that there's a button up here next to the green one that says X, T, theta, N. That actually means it will give me the different X's I need. So it'll give me my letter. If I press this, it will give me an X. Notice I'm up in the power. If I want to come down and write something else, I'd have to hit the right arrow to come down out of that power. Now I want to graph this, and there's my graph. Now this is done on what's known as the standard window. I can also zoom. I can zoom with a box. I can zoom in. I can zoom out. I can do different zooms that I want to. Zoom standard will always get me back to the standard window. Zoom stat will zoom for different stats graphs I want to do. Zoom fit will, if I put in certain X's, it will fit to those X's with my Y's. And there's different ones you can use here. If I want to actually change the window way I want, so if I want to actually change my domain and range, I can actually do that by clicking on window, and then I can type in what I want. Notice it's in -10 to 10 and -10 to 10. That's the standard one, but I can type in any one I want. So I can type in -20. Make sure you use the negative sign here and not the minus sign. This is the minus sign. This is the negative sign. So -20 to 20. Then if I hit the graph button, it will look a little different. If I want to go back to my standard window, zoom, standard, I can either move down to number 6, or I can just press the number 6, and it'll put us back to the standard window. If I want to graph the other ones, I can actually, I can change the colors, by the way. So if you're on the 84, it has some different colors. The 83 does not. You can change the colors by hitting enter and then changing what colors you want using the right arrow. It'll show you all the different colors you can pick from. There's a whole bunch you can pick from. I think it just keeps going and going and going. You can also change what kind of line you want. If you want dashed, heavy dashed, solid, heavy solid, shaded, shaded. This one is a line with a dot after it. This one's just a dot. This is a dotted line. And this is a little bit more dotted line. And then we're back to our normal one. And then we can come down and say, okay. And I can now go down to number 2, Y2, and I can graph another one. So if I want to graph in 0.02, I'm sorry, it was just 0.2. So I can come back here and hit delete, and it will make that go away. And then 0.2x minus 3.2. If I hit graph, it will then graph that one on there also. Notice it picked a different color for that one. If you don't want them all on, I forgot to show that with Desmos. If you want to turn them off, you just click on them and they will turn off. So that's how you turn them off on there. If you want them all on, you just have to click them and turn them back on again. On the graphing calculator, if you want to not have one plotted, you go back to the equal sign, hit enter, and now the equal sign is no longer blinking or no longer dark. That means it won't plot that one. So now if I hit graph, it just does the second one. If I want them back on again, I just hit enter and it'll turn it back on. Now it's now shaded equal sign. I can keep typing the rest of these. I had 1 times 5 to the x. Um, and again, I can hit graph, and there's my other graph. If I want to do the other ones, I had f of x is equal to 15 times 0.8 to the x. I can't do f of x. I have to use y. So I'd have 15 times 0.8 to the x. And then the last one was minus 3x plus 10. Again, this is what y equals. On the graphing calculator, you always have to have y equals or f of x equals or something equals. You have to have your output all by itself. The Desmos, you don't have to have that, but on the calculator, you do. So there's my graphs. So my next thing is we can actually solve equations by graphing. The easiest way to solve an exponential equation, and in fact any equation, is by using technology. We're going to take the example 6 will show you how to do this is accomplished, and I called it example 6, but it's example 2. So we're going to solve the equation 125 times 1.25 to the x equals 300. I'm going to round our answer to 2 decimal places. So to do this on the graphing calculator is different than doing it on Desmos. So we're going to do it on Desmos first. I'm going to come back here to Desmos. I don't want all of these on here. I don't need all of these, so I'm just going to hit these little X's and they will all go away. And then I can either just type here the new one. Again, what I had was 125 times 1.25. And notice I can put parentheses. The parentheses are down here on your keypad. You can also, if you're on the calculator, not the calculator, but on the computer, you can actually just use the parenthesis button to the x. So I'm then going to raise that to the x power. And that's like one equation I want to plot. So I actually need to tell it I want to plot that. So I'm going to say y equals, that will plot that equation. Notice I don't see anything here. That's because I need to change my window. So what I notice here is I have 125 and 1.25x. So I know I have to get up pretty high up there. The other thing I also want is I want this equal to 300. So I'm going to put another y equals 300. And again, I want to kind of see what that graph will look like. And I don't see it on my graph. So I'm going to go change my window. I know my y's. I don't probably need the negative ones, but I like to see a negative. So I'm going to at least do a -1 so I can at least see my 0. And I'm probably going to take my y all the way up to at least 300 because I need to see that 300. So maybe I'll put 500 so I can see it. Now, if I press the wrench again, it goes away, and I can actually see these two actually intersect. If I didn't see the intersection, that would mean I need to change my x's. So I need to change my x's to not be from -10 to 10, but maybe negative whatever, depending if you can see it. But since I can see it, I don't need to worry about that. And then all I have to do in Desmos is just click it, click that point of intersection, and that tells me the exact value. So it tells me my value is 3.92, and my other value is 300 when y is 300. So I wanted this rounded to the 2 decimal places, so this would be 3.92 is that point of intersection. There's another one I'm also going to do. The other one I'm also going to do is f of x is equal to 125 to the times 1.25 to the x when f of x is equal to 50. So we're going to change this ever so slightly. We're going to make this one go to 50 instead of 500. And so it's the same equation, but I'm now changing this to 50. Notice when I did that, I don't see as much going on, so I need to change my window a little bit. I can actually still see it. It is there, but if you wanted to, you can change your window so you can see a little bit better of it. And then again, I click on it, and there's my answer. It's negative 4.11. All right, so now If we go to a graphing calculator, same thing. I want to graph these. I also don't want all of these on here, so I'm just going to hit the clear button. I'm going to go hit Y equal, and then I'm going to press the clear button. That will delete all these. You can also hit delete, but clear is a little bit faster. So that cleared them all out. Again, I'm going to go ahead and do my 125 times, and this one, I do have parentheses on the calculator. I can hit the parenthesis, 1.25, close the parenthesis, raised to the x. And then the other one I want, so I'm going to hit enter, is I also want to know when that equals 300. So basically what I'm going to do is taking my equation and setting one side equal to 300 and the other side, or one side equal to y1 and the other side equal to y2. So it's usually the process we go through here. And then I can hit graph, and again, I don't see anything. And that's because my window is not set up right. So again, my x's may be okay, so we'll leave those alone for the moment. We might have to change them. My y's, again, I don't need to see all those negatives probably, because I'm going up to 300. But I'm going to maybe start at -1, just so I can see the axes. And then I know I need to go to 300, so maybe we'll put in 600. I don't need to see a tick mark every one. In fact, if I hit graph, you'll see almost a solid line here. If you want to, you can actually change that to, let's say, every 100. And that just means you won't see as many tick marks. So that's just a nice way to do that. I can see where it intersects, so I don't need to change my x's. If I didn't see this point of intersection, I need to change my x's. But since I see it, I can find it, but I can't actually find it on here by just clicking on it. So on the graphing calculator, you're going to go into our calculate menu. And again, the calculate menu is in this blue up here. Anything that's in blue means I need to use this big second button first. And then I can press that button, and now that button will give me my calculate menu. I want to find out where these intersect. So if you look down here, we can do value, 0, min, max. Intersect is what I want to find. You can either arrow down to number 5, or you can just press the number 5 and it'll actually come up. And now it's going to ask you some questions. It's asking you, what is the first curve? I happen to have, I'm on the blue curve right now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter to say I want that curve. What's my second curve? Notice that I'm actually jumped to the second one. If you have multiple curves, you can use the up arrow to get to the ones you want. But it jumped to the second one. I can just hit enter. And this is going to ask for a guess because sometimes graphs cross several places and there's only one I want. So you now just hit the right arrow or the left arrow, whatever you need, left or right arrow to move over to that point. You don't have to be perfect about that. You just want to get close enough so it knows that's the one you want. This one I didn't need to worry about because I only have one. Then I just hit enter and it tells me what that intersection is. Then if I want to change this to just 50, and then I can hit graph. Oh, I just didn't change it all the way. So I'm going to hit clear again and hit 50. Notice I didn't try to do that. Tried to do it the cheating way and it didn't work. And now I can see again where those intersect. Again, I go to second button and then calculate. Number 5 for intersection. Hit enter for the first curve, enter for the second curve, enter again, and it'll give me that intersection.